Yo, what is going on, guys? Happy Friday. Today I'll be breaking down this 8-game NBA slate here on DraftKings. It's going to be a quick one as the games start here pretty soon in a couple hours. So I'll just go quickly over each team, kind of my favorite plays, my build for tonight, and then make sure to follow me on Twitter to stay updated with all the injury news. Hit that like button and subscribe. Do appreciate when you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in this slate breakdown. Before I get into the breakdown, as always, follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS. Answer questions you guys have. You can find my free Patreon in the link tree in the YouTube description down below, or on my actual Twitter profile, where I'll tweet out my core plays. I'll start doing more in-depth write-ups once the new year starts, so in a few days, once I get back into a routine. But right now, it's just going to be the core plays, and the core plays last night were okay. So the streak came to end, 4 days in a row of cashing. So we'll look to get back on the train for tonight. This is going to be a quick breakdown, as I mentioned in the intro, just because the games start here pretty soon. So I'll just lightly touch on each team and then just build out a lineup, and I'll see you guys on Twitter for an updated core, depending on the news we get. So right now, really like Donovan Mitchell here, even if Garland is in against the Bulls. If Garland's out, obviously Donovan Mitchell becomes not like a 100% a lock, but pretty close to one. Another big news is going to be Evan Mobley. If he's in, you can look to one of the bigs. Don't mind the matchup. Obviously, it's pretty solid going against DeMar and Vooch. They're not going to be able to handle Mobley or Allen, so they do look decent. I really prefer just one of them being out, which in this case it might be Mobley. If he is, do like Allen a good amount there at 6,500. Then we can look to like a Kevin Love off the bench, who should see 20, maybe closer to 25, even 30 minutes, 4,200. He'd be way too cheap. Sadie should see a good amount. He already has been off the bench. If he's in, we can look to him. If he's out, Lamar Stevens, Isaac Okoro, they'll see a good amount of minutes. Maybe they dust off Robin Lopez if he's good to go, or Mobley's brother, Isaiah. So we're kind of have to wait and see. Luckily it's one of the first game that's going to start, so we'll get that news pretty soon. But yeah, really like Donovan Mitchell. Really like one of the Allen if Mobley's out, even Kevin Love. So you can definitely get 2 or 3 guys from this game. Good matchup here against the Bulls. And Karis LeVert looks like a very, very solid value play if Garland's going to be out. Chicago side, they're all kind of there. No real interest for me right now. They're all kind of priced about right. Moving on to Brooklyn. Great game environment here. Love Katie. Love Kyrie. Prefer getting to Kyrie because of the price tag. So right now I'm just going to throw him in there. Ben Simmons, I don't mind him as like a contrarian play. The minutes have been just a question mark recently. That he does have foul trouble, but even that last game, 0 fouls, and he only played 25 minutes. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe the illness, maybe he wasn't feeling well. But yeah, I don't mind taking a shot on him. Claxton, another guy you can take a shot on. He is very solid upside. TJ Warren, I'm assuming he'll be chalky. He's been chalky the past few games. He's been seeing decent minutes. He is productive. But I'd rather go to Royce O'Neal, who I'm assuming is going to have way lower ownership, and he's playing even more minutes. I know he has been, great recently, but we've seen some games, even alongside Katie and Kyrie, where he's had massive upside. So I think I just prefer Royce O'Neal with the lower ownership. That's really it. Moving on to Charlotte. Kelly Oubre is out, so that just, raises the floor of guys like Hayward, Washington, Plumlee a little bit. There's more just minutes for those, bigs. Melo looks great here, 10,000. Not a need to play him, but you can definitely get to him. Obviously, it's a great matchup against Brooklyn. I think right now the standout plays for me would be PJ, riding the hot streak with him here. Or, you could look to McDaniels. He should see a little bit more minutes. You can get to one of the bigs in Richards or Williams. Don't feel great about it. Richards was back for that last game, but they played Williams instead. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the big situation here, but you can take a dart throw on whichever one you think is going to play, but I don't think it's a need. Moving on to the Knicks, the big news is Brunson. If he's good to go, him and Randall look fantastic in this matchup. If he's out, once again, we can look to Randall, and we can look to Quickly and Grimes. They'd be all great plays. I prefer getting to Quickly because, the minutes have been insane on him past 2 games. Shot attempts, massive upside. Even though he's going to be super chalk, I think you eat that chalk just because of how cheap he is and how insane his upside is. And yeah, so it really comes down to that Brunson news. We'll get that pretty soon. So with that news, we're able to either, even if Brunson's in, you can definitely get to Randall. He looks fantastic. He's been great the past month, but I just prefer finding out the news if Brunson's in or not, and then possibly, even playing Brunson. On the Houston side, no real standouts for me. Green, maybe at that price tag. Smith, maybe. Eric Gordon, decent value play there. But yeah, no real price tags for me or standouts for me in Houston. They're kind of like Detroit, where everyone's priced pretty cheap. They do have upside. It's just, they're just not a good team. They're just not. And then for Dallas, Luka looks great against the Spurs. Same thing with Wood. I mean, they're running their starters just insane amount of minutes. So they all look great. Prefer Luka and Wood. You can definitely get to Dinwiddie, more of a secondary play. That's really it for me. Don't think you need to go down to the cheaper guys. Spurs side, Vassell is doubtful. So Keldon Johnson, 7,300 looks solid. Trey Jones looks decent. Podol looks, I like the risk on Podol. Minutes have been slowly ticking up, 24, 26, 29. So maybe hopefully we get close to 30. He's a very solid point per minute guy as well. So I do have interest in Podol there, getting risky. And that's really it. Bates-Diop is out, so we'll just see a little bit more minutes for guys like McDermott off the bench, Richardson. Langford did start. He did decent. I don't think you need to force that. Maybe Stanley Johnson gets a few minutes off the bench. Branham's been seeing minutes as well. So maybe my favorite dart throw on his team would be Stanley. He's very cheap. He's been decently productive when he's out there, 3,200. Could see, some decent minutes. I'd say 15 to 20 with Bates-Diop being out. But yeah, it's definitely risky. So don't have a lot of interest in San Antonio. Philly, Embiid looks fantastic here against OKC. Probably close to my favorite spin-up play. Harden, don't love the upside with Maxey back, even though Maxey's coming off the bench. So they're just more secondary plays. Harden or Embiid's really just the only main focus for me on Philly. OKC side, I mean, it's kind of the same thing with every slate with OKC. SGA is really the only guy that stands out. Giddey is always, a decent tournament option. He does have upside. Just don't love getting to him. Same thing with Dort. Him and Giddey are kind of the same plays. Either you're gonna get 20 fancy points from them, or you could get 40. So they're there. Jalen Williams, don't think there's a need to get to him, even though he's been okay recently. And then in terms of the bigs, they started Jalen Williams, which is frustrating because he had 5 fouls, 10 rebounds, 24 minutes. I mean, don't love the matchup here. If he starts again, he's just going to get absolutely torn apart by Embiid. Same thing with Muscala, but I do prefer taking that shot on Muscala at 3,700, especially if Williams is getting foul trouble. We could see some minutes for Basley as well. So Basley and Muscala would probably be my favorite plays besides SGA on OKC if you're looking for some value. Pelicans, Zion, kind of the standout for me. That's really it. If Murphy's out, Herb Jones, Marshall will start. Same with Valanciunas and CJ, and then Zion. So not like huge news if Murphy's in or out. And that's really it. With Larry Nance out, they'll see, Jackson Hayes, Hernan Gomez. We'll see like 20-ish minutes off the bench. If you want to take a shot, I'd take it on Hernan Gomez. He's been the better point per minute guy. Could definitely go off in like 15 and 20 minutes. So I'd just look to him. On the Memphis side, love Ja at this price tag. I do think he's way too cheap here at 9,800. Even with Bane and the whole team back, just really love the price tag of Ja. We know he's massive upside. Don't mind taking a shot on Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. Haven't seen 30 minutes recently, but we know he has insane upside. So that's really it. The secondary tournament options like a Adams, a Bane, a Brooks are there, but it's really just going to be Ja for me and maybe Triple J. Moving on to the last two games, Detroit. It's kind of like Houston. They're priced pretty cheap. Their guys are going to play a good amount of minutes. It's just doesn't feel great rostering them. I mean, Bogdan, Ivy are going to be your main guys in terms of usage, but they're just kind of seem priced about right. No real standouts. They're not getting a ton of minutes. I think Duren, Stewart, and Burks are going to be my favorite plays. Pretty cheap for Duren. He's been seeing 30-plus minutes. We know he's very solid upside, so 5,400. I do like him a good amount against Minnesota. It looks even better if Gobert is out. Stewart, he's been super aggressive. He's been playing solid minutes, so I do like him a good amount there at 5,000. And then Burks, minutes are a little bit more questionable, but he's been very, very productive. Killian Hayes is out, so he should see at least 20 minutes off the bench once again. And then Saddiq Bey is definitely there. He's been a lot more aggressive recently, so you can look to him. Don't hate it at 4,000. So I think those four would be my favorite plays on Detroit. I think right now I'm going to throw in Duren, and I'm going to go to, I think I'm just going to go to Burks for right now. Moving on to Minnesota. The big news with Minnesota is Anthony Edwards is questionable. Gobert is questionable. Anderson's questionable. We saw Gobert miss yesterday's game. Naz Reid starts. He looks fantastic at 4,700. If Anthony Edwards is out, then we're going to have to look to D'Lo. to pick up the slack. Anderson would pick up the slack as well at 5,500. McDaniels, they all look very solid options. I prefer getting to D'Lo. And then my second favorite play would be Noel off the bench, 4,200. Maybe he starts. He'll be very, very aggressive. So him and D'Lo should lead the charge if Edwards is out. And then if Gobert's out, we can look to Naz Reid. So it'd be Naz, Noel, and Naz, Noel, and D'Lo if Edwards and Gobert are out. And then Kyle Anderson and McDaniels would be very solid secondary plays. So we'll have to wait for that news there. And then Miami and Utah. Great matchup here for Miami. We always love to target Utah with the bigs. So Bam looks very solid there, 8,900. Do think that price tag will keep a bunch of people away. So you could definitely look to him as a nice contrarian play there at 8,900. Tyler Hero, just kind of priced about right for me. Same thing with Lowry. I think Strus and Oladipo would be my favorite plays there if they're good to go, just because of the price tags. Strus will see the minutes, should be aggressive. Oladipo was seeing mid-20s minutes. He'll be aggressive as well off the bench. So those two would be my favorite if Oladipo is good to go. And then Utah side, Clarkson, Markkanen are going to be the main guys. Olynyk could have a random big game, but the minutes have been down a little bit on him. He's seen, high 20s. Conley, you can always take a dart throw on him. But yeah, they're just playing a good amount of guys on this team. So we know the usage just goes through Markkanen and Clarkson. And then there are those games where one of the random guys, other guys goes off. But I don't think there's a need to get to any one of them right now, unless you're going to get to the main two guys. And then to kind of fill out the rest of this lineup, we are a little bit guard heavy with Irving, Burks, Mitchell, and Ja. So right now, small forward. Let's see who we can fit in there around 4,300. Let's see here. Obviously, there's a bunch of news we have to wait on. So this is not my favorite lineup right now. We'll have to wait for the Quickly news, the Brunson news. Obviously, the Minnesota news. A bunch of news we have to wait on. But yeah, right now we can throw in. We'll just throw in Sadiq Bey as well. Kind of load up on those Detroit cheap guys. Power forward, 4,500 left over. We can get to, McDaniels will see decent minutes off the bench there for Charlotte. Maybe he even starts. We can get to Kevin Love there against the Bulls. Don't mind that. 4,800 left over. We can throw in, Beasley. Okay. Naz Reid, if Gobert gets ruled out, we can get Naz Reid in there at 4,700. That'd be pretty solid. You get to, TJ Warren, Karis LeVert, another, McDaniels again. So it leaves you a good amount of options. Right now, we'll just throw in Naz. But once again, just stay updated with me on Twitter for the updated core later today. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.